conversation. Now, the Daily Monitor's top story yesterday indicated that workers who want to access the savings with the National Social Security Fund before clocking the mandatory age of 55 will have a reason to smile should Parliament pass the proposed changes in the law governing the fund.
Now, this is after Cabinet on Monday this week approved a resolution on amendments to the NSSF Act seeking to reduce the mandatory age for accessing pension savings from 55 to 45 years. The bill, titled the Retirement Benefits Sector Liberalization Bill 2011, among other proposals, seeks to allow workers who have saved for 10 years to access 30% of their savings to secure a mortgage or a loan for purchasing a residential house from any financial institution.
Now, this morning we ask, when should workers access their savings? And so in studios we're joined by Mr. Livingstone Mukasa. He is the CEO of Mazima Retirement Plan. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning. Yeah. We were supposed to, by the way, to be joined by Honorable Charles Buka Bolindi, but unfortunately we cannot get him. But we're trying our very best to get him, because then he will help us understand where this particular amendment is, stemming from and the genesis of all this. But welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So from 55 to 45 years, what's your take on this?
The first thing, if you look at that proposition, it is steeped in facts and data that is old. Because if you go back 10 years ago, the average age of a Ugandan we expected was about 47, 50. Right now, what has happened globally, and especially in emerging markets, that life expectancy is going up. It's on the mend. So as I speak now, the average for Africa and Uganda inclusive is 63. But if you are today, you're born today in Uganda, you have a 50% chance of living to 100 years. So you're going to live longer in retirement than what you have been when you've been working. So if you're getting your access at 45, when you're still at your prime, you're still at your base, you're still producing your biggest income, then I don't think for me it's a smart move.
Are you saying that Ugandans are incapable of handling their finances well enough? If they're given this lump sum, boom, they'll be shocked and pretty much not handle these financials well enough? Are you saying that we are not well equipped?
Interestingly, we always make an assumption that we are smarter with our money. But as we know with our own health, you can't trust your health with your own self, so you need to see a doctor. And most people approach, when it comes to approaching their finances, they approach it, they say, I'm the smartest. Yes, you need to make the best decision in your life. But if you don't consult, if you don't have the facts right in front of you, then it's actually a problem. So let's go back. If you look at the National Social Security Fund, which we're talking about here, the fund has been performing well. Actually, it beats most of the investments we have in town. But only 7% of the people in the National Social Security Fund have more than 50 million. So if you are accessing and you only have 13 million, and you are accessing half of your 13 million, what are you going to do with 6 million in an investment in Uganda?
Yes. Does that mean in one way we're encouraging the poor saving habits that Ugandans have? Because in the East African region it is known that as Ugandans, from the facts, we're not doing the best when it comes to saving. So in one way this will be enabling their inability to save. So
in a way, look at it. The people seated on discussing this, let's just go back to what is the facts before us. If only 7% of the people have more than 50 million, a house in Kampala that you can start with or around Uganda is about 80 million. So you're not going to buy a house by getting access to your, most of the majority of the people will not be able to buy a house, and they will not be able to make a decent investment if they do. So now, if those are the facts that are standing before us, the person who already has 50 million in National Security Fund or NSSF already can be able to afford a house on his own. Right. So it's almost a certainty that they already have a house. So when you give them money, it's probably going to end up disappearing. Now, let's go at the end of the termination at 55 and find out that the people that get paid, 97% of the people that get paid NSSF are alive when they join. So you have a 97% chance of hitting 55. And when they get paid, what do they do with the money? Nearly 70% of the people will lose the money in 2 years. Yes. So these are the facts. So now you're giving them access when they are still younger and they can take risks.
Mr. Mukasa, would it make a difference if still I keep my money but at 45 I'm retrenched, for example?
The matter, I love to go back to what's the basis of what we're trying to do. As a nation, we seem to be losing focus on what is the intention of National Security Fund. And in this case, it's supposed to be social security, social protection. That we need to take care of the vulnerable people, and we need to take care of people that actually don't think they need to take care of.
But if I'm retrenched at 45, does it make a difference?
It doesn't.
Thank you.
Because the matter is you hit 55 and you probably you are praying to live to 85.
So when would be the best age to have this social protection come to work for you?
What I'm saying, in other countries, they are going up. So we could, in the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years, we will be debating putting it to 60 or 65. But now we're just moving backward.
And then where do we put it in terms of our unemployment? Because right now you find that a person who is finally going to get formal employment could even get it at 30.
Yeah.
Yes, then you start to save, and maybe now 45 in 15 years you're now getting it.
Yes.
But really, will it even put any work for you? Because if we're going to look at the employment bit of things, what do we do with employers and employees at this point in time?
So there are 2 points that you're raising that become quite interesting. The first one is unemployment. We know very well that only 20% of our people have form employment. They have a boss. And all our savings culture, I mean, the way the pension system is built is trying to target that. So this discussion is really about a select club. And this is what I want to say. So that's number one. We should be talking about how do we cover everybody, especially those that are in the informal economy. The other point that then you're raising requires that people start to think ahead of what is required, and then try to work hard to make sure that they can be able to get to that money. But if you can't get your money, yes, I don't have a problem with it. But in most cases, the decisions that people make with their money have not been the most efficient.
Then shouldn't we just be equipping the Ugandan with the right tools to maybe think of what they can use their money for as well? Wouldn't it be time to have that conversation?
So one, yes, that conversation is necessary, and I'm proud that the government of Uganda is coming up to teach people about retirement. So that's something that one of the work that we're doing. But number two, if the money is for Livingstone, and I still have a source of income, and I'm still working hard, and if you look at the return I'm making at NSSF, it's difficult to make that return on myself. So it's even in my best interest to leave that money to continue working in the fund.
And then also perhaps you start telling people to start investing in other places,
yes,
apart from NSSF. Because a number of times, if we can't save and you're only going to think of one place as your social protection, perhaps the scope should be widened.
Yeah, if you're listening to this program, maybe you're in an office or you're going to work. The point is that you cannot rely on NSSF alone. The rule is you should be saving 20%. So if you're taking only 15%, figure out where you could put more money. So live on less.
All right.
That's the point.
All right. And right now we are joined by Honorable Sam Lumoki, the Workers' Member of Parliament. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Fine, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, this particular development that you're saying, of course, you did say it's in the Daily Monitor yesterday, and we'd just like to understand the genesis of this and also your take. Now, workers to get their NSSF savings at the age of 45 as opposed to the current age of 55 years. What's your take on this?
Yeah, of course, it is a possible government because for many years, we have been pushing for that proposal. As you mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, I accidentally removed the president member bill. I already forget that proposal for an independent of the 45. So they will come home, and what they're going to do is to make sure that we harmonize with the government deal, with already what they want at the moment. So it is welcome in the right direction, and that's what we have been pushing for the government. Because we said that given tax dynamics, especially that workers, the agreement for us to get on funds of their benefits be lower to that level. So we welcome and we definitely want to support it.
Right.
We are ready that we should be harmonizing our proposals with the government coming up.
All right, sir. And just to understand, where is this, kind of amendment coming from? The amendment of this, the NSSF Fund Act 1985. Where is it stemming from? Have you even paid attention to what the other voices, the other workers' union are actually saying? In studios, we are hosting the CEO of the Mazima retirement, kind of plan, and he's totally opposed to it. He says at 45, it's not wise, because then there's issues to do with the financial planning. Are these people ready for this? So with this particular amendment, just let us understand, did you consult enough? Where is this decision coming from?
Yeah, of course, when the purpose of the substitute is to allow a member access benefits. Of course, what the when the member retires, other sources that's useful to the member. We know that most of the workers, like 25% working, also know that they are proposing several options. The member can get lump sum, or member can get part of the benefit, and others are given as pension from the time of the member gets the benefit at 45 after the person dies. So
right.
The issue of saying that it's not wise, I think whoever is saying not wise is because that person has not done consultation, has also not looked at the dynamics. We have done consultations for the last over 15 years with the members among the workers. And we also look at the scenarios, and we don't know that at 45, someone can be able, as long as the person is retired, because if the person is not retired, then you will not be able to see, or should not be able to take the money at 45.
All right, okay.
The other problem is where the person will be able to access part of the money at that age, if he or she is still working. So that's the money you can be able to do other, maybe more people can get it. But as long as the member is not working, it's not possible that member getting another job. Then getting the benefits at 45 is okay, because at that time the person can be able to be able to retire, but at the same time also use the money in the positive sense.
All right, Honorable.
What is important is the fact that we have put into place mechanism for sort of mentoring those workers who are retiring, so that they can be able to use that money effectively. It does not matter whether the person gets money at 45 or 55, as long as the person is not paying, then the person will, if the issue is about misuse of the money, then the person will still misuse the money. So the point here is really about the people,
all right,
who are trying to be mentored, give education and skillfulness to be able to understand how to be able to manage their finances.
Honorable, fair enough. And before I let you go, we'd like to understand now, part of this proposals to this amendment of this particular, 1985 NSSF Fund Act is the move of the operations of this fund from the Ministry of Finance back to its original ministry, the Ministry of Social Development, actually Ministry of Gender, beg your pardon, Social Development and Labor. We do know that this move, these operations are shifted in 2007 from the Ministry of, Gender, thanks to the mismanagement of this particular funds. What happened to the rule of once bitten, twice shy? Why are we taking this monies back, the operations of this fund back to the ministry that mismanaged the funds in the first place?
First of all, they moved from gender, from Minister of there are lots of the ministry responsible for social security. Now, they moved from the Minister of Labor to Finance was an irregularity, because even the old law that we are amending talks of minister responsible for labor. Now, that meant that even when the fund was being managed by finance, it was illegal, because the law had not changed. You cannot change the administrative act. You cannot change the law by just a mere administrative act. So, what the current law is going to be to reconfirm what was already in the old law. The movement was done administratively. Of course, claiming that the Minister of Gender at that time was incompetent and there was some sort of mismanagement. But these are all government entities, whether there is mismanagement in labor, mismanagement in finance, same thing. You cannot, if there is mismanagement in labor, then there are also mismanagement in finance. So the fact that not led to mismanagement was not necessarily because the fund was not left. It was because of other factors. That time we had corrupt officials, we didn't have work accountability across the board, and we have many other things that we changed. The management of the fund had issues, so we have things like that. So the reason why there was this fund was not necessarily because the fund was under labor. It was just because of the scenarios at that time. Right now, with of labor and of finance, they are all the same. We have seen it right now. The president right now is saying that the most corrupt thing is finance.
So are you giving us, Honorable, are you giving us an assurance?
The issue of corruption is not really finance or labor. I think the whole government right now is corrupt. It's full of corrupt individuals.
So, Honorable.
That's why in the law we are even proposing that actually will give the sort of the nature and the power of the minister in lieu of that fund. The point here is, Minister of Labour is the one who knows how to do suspension. The Minister of Finance handles finances, and that's why I said I've seen the representation of the board from finance. Right now we had a scenario where we are trying to amend the law, and we're looking at it more from the point of insurance.
All right.
They don't know how to handle suspension, they don't know how to handle all this. So yeah, the movement from finance to labor is right because that's where the right people are.
Okay, Honorable, so what you're telling the viewers and the citizens of Uganda is that with the move of this fund, its operations back to the Ministry of Gender, then they have an assurance that this time round there would not be any issues to do with the mismanagement of these funds. Is that what you're telling us this morning?
Yes, because we have already resolved it. Right now we have 4 activities that come the board. We have other mechanisms within the system that are now sorting out the show fund. So the placement of the fund, whether in labor or finance, that has no impact on corruption. That's what I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Sam Lyomoki, a Workers' Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for answering to our morning call. Back in studios, Rita. To
bring it back, I did see Mr. Livingstone note down a number of things, and he seemed to be not in agreement with what was being said by the Member of Parliament.
Honorable Sam Lyomoki, thank you very much for your contribution. I think that the trouble or we're creating a quagmire for ourselves. When we look at NSSF, it is supposed to contribute to at that age when you cannot be able to be productively employed. And then when you look at people, they are trying to access housing against that fund. We're trying to access medical insurance against that fund. We're trying to access unemployment benefits against that fund. So that fund is not going to be enough. What we need to talk about as a nation is how do we protect the weak? How do we build a social protection policy, which we actually have the National Social Protection Policy, that gives you something when you've been working and you don't have something that you can fall on. So this is called building a floor below which you will not slip and go back. So until we start talking about building a national protection floor below everybody so that they don't slip back into a very unfortunate situation like we see with our old people getting 25,000. Now for us people in Kampala, we think 25,000 is not money, but it has done a lot of good for them. So how do we build a situation where if you lose your job you get your 25,000? I think that for me that's a national question.
But all of the proposed amendments are not doomed, so to speak, because now the other proposal for this particular amendments is that now them that are in the informal sector can actually jump into this bandwagon and have a provision for themselves to save, and not just save but also access mortgages thanks to the savings that they're going to be contributing towards this particular fund. That's a positive, don't you think?
Talking about including the informal sector into the amendments actually makes sense, but I think the National Social Security Fund is not suited to serving the informal economy as it stands for right now. And the reason is that actually if you look at its history, the way it was formed for government, people that were paid by government but were not in civil service. Now we stretched it further and brought it to the private sector. Now, it's also been struggling with that because we have 4 million people that go that are formerly employed. It's only covering 2 million, but actively has less than 600 that are making contribution on a monthly basis. That's why I actually prefer it as a private club. It's a private club of very few Ugandans. Let's talk about how we include the 17 million people that go to work on every
But when you say
Alright.
the fact that it's not prepared for all these people, what should they be looking at now? Where should their focus be in terms of preparing themselves for these people?
So if I were to go back and I say, if anyone is listening tonight and you are writing policy, the informal economy is community driven. We love to do our thing. When we started the Mazima retirement plan, what we did was build a community. And once you build a community over an issue, people will buy into. But if you're going to force them to try and say, hey, you start making a contribution by force, they're not going to respond. They'll figure out a way to deviate along that. So we should be talking perhaps building a Northern Uganda pension fund and maybe build another one in Western Uganda and try to link them together with the same management portfolio. The World Bank had the same proposal. Let's build a national infrastructure that allows people to build their own pension schemes. And I think it was a smart one.
Okay.
Interesting. So they do have a huge, kind of, standard or goal they want to achieve with the informal sector. The current subscription stand at 500,000, people. And so they want to grow that to 16 million. Let's see what the future holds.
But as we wrap this up, I
right.
think given that now it will be voluntary until Parliament goes ahead to talk about it, but if at all it becomes law and says this is what will now change, for someone who perhaps will have an option to get their money at 45 years, what would be your advice to them?
I'm going to tell you frankly, if you are healthy, you're in good health, and you still have your employee, don't touch that money.
Wait.
Do not touch the money. Even if they dangle it in front of you, please close your eyes. Do not touch the money.
But
And
you
if
want
the
force you
house-
to take it. If they force you to
Nobody's
take it. No, if they force you to take it, what do you do?
You know what you simply do? Bring it to Mazima retirement plan. We'll do a better job for you.
You're such a marketer, my goodness. Thank you so much, Mr. Livingston Mukasa, the CEO of Mazima Retirement Plan. Thank you so much for making time this morning. Keep your views coming. The hashtag is morning at NTV. What are your views from 55 years to 45 years? What do you have to say about that? Don't go too far. We'll be back with reality on the ground. If not that, then take note, okay? So stay with us.
It is not my intention to be a president, but it is the people who appointed me.
He was a giant, a boxer, a rally driver, a family man, a blood-stained dictator.
I must